Hey, what's up guys? So it's Jeffrey here, and I want to do this tutorial for the Git workflow at Starchup, pretty much explaining the general gist of what Git is, and forks and pull requests and syncing and commit and all that stuff, and specifically at how we're using it at Starchup. So we're not actually using forks, so I won't even have to talk about that, but everything else, especially branches. So try to make it short, so let's get started. So the first thing is two purposes for Git: version control, so keeping track of the different versions of a piece of code or a website. And the second purpose is for collaboration, to get many people to work together on the same piece of code and still make it without everybody stepping on each other's toes. So the way you do that in Git is with repos. So repos are basically containers for code, although they're actually containers for code, because in repos there are branches, which are themselves subcontainers. And under each branches, they are the actual code, though. So there are many reasons for different branches, but one of the reasons is so that you can keep one branch for release history, so usually master. So, and while the other branch is for where work actually happens. So, for example, you've got a team of devs working and adding and committing things and changing the code over on dev, and then whenever they've reached a milestone, so for example version 1, everything will be working on dev. We will merge dev into master. So this means that we take everything that's on dev and we put it on master, and now master represents version 1.1, and it'll be pushed over to the main website that'll be accessed over on the web and interactive and all that stuff. So, and then the company will say, oh well, for version 1.2 we need all those features, so all those features will be worked on dev and committed and pushed and whatever, and then when it's done, same thing, push to master. Master is now version 1.2. So that's kind of one of the purposes of branches. The other purpose is for collaborating, and we'll come to that in a second. So how do you actually work on this particular repo? So to do that, you will actually be, for one thing, using your local. So it's important to know that this right here, for one thing, will be on somebody's account, but more importantly, it's actually on the web. So this is actually right here on GitHub. So you don't work directly on GitHub, right? You actually need to sync this to your local. So what you do is you clone. It's called cloning. So git clone and the repo, and this puts it into your local computer. So let's call this like Jeff's local. And now I have a direct copy, a duplicate basically, of the repo on my local in the exact state that it was at when I cloned it. So that's important. Whenever you clone something, you get the state that it's in at the moment that you clone it. So right now, I've got the repo, I've got the branches, I've got dev, I've got master. You can ignore any other thing than dev. You don't really care about master. But yeah, so you've got the repo there, and now you can actually start working on it. So however, before you start working on it, we need to look at collaboration, because somebody else might be doing the exact same thing. So for example, Daniel here, if he was a coder, might have done the exact same thing. So he might have clone the repo over on his local computer, and he could be working on it as well. He's got the repo, he's got the branch, all that stuff. And so he's doing some changes, you're doing some changes, he's pushing stuff on dev. But so yeah, imagine he were to make a change here and push it on dev. Now dev is updated with something that you don't have. So if you use the GUI on Mac or Windows, it's really easy to stay up to date, because all you have to do is click the sync button. So there's a sync button, and that pretty much just downloads whatever was on dev and updates your repo with it. Now, if you were to have any changes on dev that you made and that you didn't push over, they're going to be overridden, or it's probably not even going to let you sync. So be aware of that. And that is why we use branches. So the way you use branches, which is a subcontainer, is you create a branch from dev. So at any moment, dev is in a particular state, and you create a new branch. For example, you're going to be working on the login stuff. So you create a new branch called login, and now boom, you have a copy of the dev branch, basically of the code of the dev branch, in a new branch called login. And from there on, you open your IDE and you make some changes. You do some things, you do some commits, whatever. So blah blah blah, you write some code, and then you commit. And then you do some more stuff and you commit, and here's more stuff and you commit. So now your local, the login branch on your local, has a whole bunch more code that you just created. Now, how do you actually get it over to the main site? Well, first thing, you have to sync. So you click, no, you don't actually have to sync, my bad. You just take your branch that you've actually committed everything to, and you publish it. So this is kind of a new concept, but all you have to do is click publish on the top right in your in the app. Make sure to watch the second video where I actually go through all of that and show you that. So you just have to publish that branch, which basically takes it and puts it on the repo online. So now the repo online has this new branch called login that you just created, where all your changes are. And now GitHub will actually give you this new option to create a pull request. So what a pull request is hey, I'm requesting to merge all my stuff in this branch into dev. So I don't know why they called it pull. I mean, I would have called it push request, but they called it pull. And so what this does is say, hey, I want to put all my new changes that I made here on my computer into dev. So there, if you create a pull request, it'll tell you one of two things. Hey, everything looks good. It can be automatically merged. So then I'll come in on GitHub and I'll check it out and I'll say, oh, okay, looks good, or oh, could you change that? Whatever. I'll comment on it and I'll merge it, and then I'll delete the login branch. Whenever login has been merged into dev, I'll delete it because it's no longer useful. However, if the other thing they could be telling you is that there are conflicts, so it'll say, hey, this branch cannot automatically be merged. You have to use your terminal to fix the conflicts. So this is where it gets kind of interesting, because it bypasses this whole pull request thing. So what you have to do from that point on is actually on your local, you can try and merge. So you can either do with the GUI. There's a very simple UI in there. In branches, you can just drag and drop. You drag and drop login that you want to put into dev. So you say, hey, I want to put login into dev, and it'll say, okay, it'll merge it, even if there are conflicts. And then on the commit list in dev, it'll show you if there were any conflicts. So yeah, there are two ways. Either you do with the GUI or you do with the terminal. The good thing about the terminal is that it'll actually tell you if there are conflicts. If you do it with the GUI, it won't tell you, it'll just show you in the commit log. Yeah, make sure you check out the second video, you'll understand exactly what I'm saying. But so if you do that, and there are conflicts, which you know there are conflicts because you tried to merge it with on the main website. So then it'll say, okay, there are conflicts, I merged it, but I concatenated everything, even where I don't know what to do. I basically merged both things next to each other, and I'm telling you, you gotta pick either of the things. So for example, if Daniel there changed the button text to next, and then here on my thing I changed the button text to previous, Git will be like, oh, what's this button supposed to be, next or previous? I mean, I can't figure it out. So you go there, you fix the conflict, you say, oh, you need to pick the previous, and then you merge. So once the login is in dev, you actually commit, and now dev will update dev on the main site. So this is kind of strange because the pull request is pretty much overridden. There's no I'm not checking anything. You're actually merging yourself into dev and fixing any conflicts. So you fix on your local, and you do all the work, and then you just sync it up so that dev on the master website is now up to date with your dev. So that is the gist of everything. So there's a couple steps in there, but first thing you do is that you clone the repo on your computer, that you only have to do once, or on every computer you want to, and then from there on you just create a branch for any feature that you want to do. You do your commits, you work on it. When you're done, you publish it and you try to do a pull request on the website. it'll tell you like, hey, it's all good, looks good, or nope, looks weird, we can't figure it out. So if they can't figure it out, you have to go fix it on your local and merge it yourself. If it can, it'll just merge into dev. And once that's done, delete the branch that you were working on, delete it, and then sync that, and then you create a new one. So whenever you're working on something else, so the authentication, so boom, create a new branch, start working on it, do all that stuff, and the same process over and over. And yeah, everything works good, and it's pretty simple. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. There's a lot of videos online that pretty much say exactly this. So if you guys want to go online and check those out, they may be helpful, explain it a different way. So and make sure to check out the second video where I show you exactly everything I just did right here. So yep, talk to you guys later.